Hello my lovely floss tube friends, welcome back to my channel. So I had such a great response from you all to do a stitch with me that whilst I'm sitting here stitching for half an hour before I head outside into the garden to do some gardening on this lovely Friday evening where the sun is shining, I thought whilst I'm still sitting here doing a spot of stitching, I would do some stitching with you. So as you can see, today I'm working on Long Dog Sampler, Castles in the Air. This is where we're at. Let me see if we can scoot this camera down a little bit for you. There we go. So here we go. It seems like forever since I did one of these. It probably is forever, and all of a sudden you might see my head pop in and out. That's a possibility too. So I thought I would, I think it was someone put a comment on my channel who basically turned around and said, well, if you're sitting there stitching anyway during your lunch, why don't you just put the camera on and do it at the same time? So I was like, do you know what? I hadn't really thought of it like that. Because I've always considered that when I'm doing like a YouTube video that, or a floss tube video, that it's, you know, it's its own designated thing. But the reality of it is, if I'm sitting here stitching anyway, what's the difference? Whether I'm just sitting here stitching all by myself, by my Larry Lonesome, or whether I stitch and put the camera on all at the same time. So I was just like, you know what? It's a very good point. Right, let's get myself a bit more comfortable. And I'm sorry about the shadow. I don't know whether if I turn this light out. Oh no, that makes it too dark. We'll put the light back on. There we go. This is like literally I've just decided to do this. You can tell, can't you? You can always tell when it's just been decided to do this. Because, yeah, it's not well planned out today. But if this works, and I can do this, then I think I might make this a bit more of a regular habit. So there will be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is the only thing. Me and my counting. I never end up on a particular bit of a chart that doesn't actually require an element of counting, where I could just sort of chat and stitch. I always end up on a bit where there's a bit of counting that goes on. So you might just have to put up with my random counting. 6, 7. That's it. Okay, so we know where we are. So, I can't believe it's Friday already. It's like the week has shot past. Not that I'm grumbling, because Friday just couldn't have come fast enough for me. Although, I was thinking about it. Whilst we've been in lockdown, and obviously I haven't been in the office since I come back from Arizona, which was the beginning of March. So really my last few days in the office was back in February. And although you sort of sit there and think time is flying, of which it is, it really is flying, it also feels like it's sort of dragging. Does that make any sense? I don't know how I can put it, but it's like week by week seems to be going super fast. Like when you actually work out how many weeks we've been at home. But then day by day, for me, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm working. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe because every day, Monday to Friday, working from home is still working. It's not like any sort of downtime. The actual week itself feels like it drags. So today just couldn't have come fast enough for me. I was ready for the weekend. I was probably ready for the weekend about 2 or 3 days ago. But we've had sort of rather wet weather for a little while, and I wouldn't mind, but it's supposed to be nice this weekend. You know, it's not nice. It's not going to rain. I think it's going to be sort of fairly warm, but a little bit overcast, like hit and miss, sunny and cloudy. But then next week, and this always happens, so next week from I think Tuesday onwards, it's going to be, I think 31 or 32 degrees here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. And I've got to sit in an office and work to this. And would you believe it, someone's just pinged me. Hold that thought, people. I'll be right back. So you probably won't even see that I've disappeared, but I did disappear and I came back. It's always the way. Whenever I sit and do anything, when, you know, it's decided that you're going to sort of do anything, I get pinged from work. And it always happens this way, that I'll be right in the middle of something and then someone will ping me. But because they can see that I'm green on the screen, then they think that I'm online. So although it's past 5 o'clock, they're like, oh, you know, Teresa can help me. But then I always feel obliged to answer it. I can't just sort of ignore anyone. So yeah. I could have just pretended that I hadn't disappeared at all and edited that whole thing out. But then I was thinking, I can't actually remember what I was saying to you when I finished. So best tell you where I went. So I'm just sitting here doing this and the sun is shining outside. Fudge is sleeping in the corner. And all I can hear, because we've got, I don't know if this is all, I don't think this is all over the UK, but down here in the sunny south, we have a lot of parakeets, which are not actually native birds. It's, I think, you know, people have accidentally let out a pair that have mated, and before you know it, we've ended up being inundated with parakeets. So we, down in the south, we have loads of parakeets, which I don't mind because they're very pretty. They're very green, very green little parakeets, but they're really noisy. So you might actually hear them on this video throughout it because I've got the windows and the doors open. But the only thing that I don't like is they're not very nice to the other birds. So they actually attack the other birds for no apparent reason, just for sport, which, yeah. So it's like I'm torn. I'm torn between they're beautiful looking birds versus, but they're sort of a predator to sort of the finches and the sparrows that we get and the robins. So sort of a love-hate. I love to hate them in a messed up way. So where are we? So the weekend, well actually I'm going to go out and do a spot of gardening in a minute once I finish this little section with you. And then I've got, I think at 7 o'clock this evening, we do a Zoom quiz on a Friday night with friends. It's never really been sort of, not that it's not been my cup of tea, but it's because it's something we've never done. We've never sort of gone to pub quiz nights or anything like that because we don't really go to the pub. It's quite strange now because every Friday night with friends, even though we've never done pub quizzes before, now we do quiz night over Zoom. So it's sort of, and they're friends that we've known, God, since before I was married and before Lauren. And surprisingly enough, for years, other than if there was a wedding, we didn't see any of them. You know, we didn't sort of make a regular habit of catching up or going out for dinners or anything like that. But since lockdowns happened, all of a sudden we've all sort of reconnected and we just do this Zoom thing every Friday night. And I mean, it only lasts like an hour and a half, something like that. You know, it's not particularly long. But it's so nice to actually catch up with them. Especially since we was all such good friends when we was younger, you know, pre-kids, pre-marriage, going out partying. They're the same people. And ironically enough, the ones that we really, really got on with back then, we still really, really get on with now, even though, you know, our lives have all gone in completely different directions. It's still really quite refreshing. So I've got that to do this evening as well. And then, what is it tomorrow? So tomorrow, Saturday, there goes the parakeet. I don't know if you can hear that. So then tomorrow I think is going to have to be a gardening and housework day, because I feel like I've really neglected doing my housework as well. I should really get up really early in the morning and get it done, so that way it just doesn't interfere with my days. That's what I was doing pre-lockdown. So I've always done that. I've always done my housework in the mornings really early, get up at 5. But since I haven't been going into London, I wouldn't say I've been sleeping in massively, but I'm not getting up at 5 in the morning. I'm sort of like more a 5:30, 6 o'clock gal. But then by the time I get up, and now because I don't feel like I'm achieving much on the exercise front, I'm having to make sure that I get my fitness in. So I'll either go for a power walk or I'll do yoga. But by the time I've done my power walk, and then I've done my yoga, and then I've had a shower, it's basically almost time to start work. So yeah, it's really odd how like our routines have all sort of changed, and my routine has really changed. So it's just made it a little bit more difficult, really, to sort of squeeze everything in. So whereas before, my house cleaning would always take place sort of in the mornings when I worked from home. I'd get up at 5 and do my house cleaning in the mornings. I think my thread's just run out under there. So I would always do my house cleaning in the morning when I was working from home, as well as on a Saturday. So on a Saturday I would, come on you, on a Saturday I would do all my house cleaning as well. Oh dear, now I'm going to have to tie that in a knot. See, you're seeing this in real time, people. This is real live. Teresa sort of throw it together because I'm not prepared to re-thread that needle again. So it's going to get a little knot. There we go. Nothing like a professional job, is there? Do you like that? So yeah, as I was saying, before I mess that up completely, I just don't seem to be able to get the same setup that I had, or the same routines that I had whilst working from home. It's much more difficult to do it the way that I was doing it before. So it just goes to show you that, you know, you change one thing, change one routine, and over a course of time, it sort of changes all your routines. So for me at the moment, it's like housework is being neglected, although I feel that purposeful fitness seems to be taking more of an up. So whereas before I just did dancing, that was it. You know, I didn't do any actual fitness. But by the time you've run around in London, you know, and, you know, done the hustle and bustle, it's sort of a power walk to work anyway. And then obviously with all the dancing that I did through the week, I didn't really feel the need that I needed to do any more exercise. Whereas now, because I do very little as far as moving is concerned in a day, that sort of took precedence. So yeah, it's really odd how my routine is just sort of, and I wouldn't even say that it sort of happened overnight, because it didn't. It was sort of one of those things that just sort of morphed that way, slowly over a number of days. So who knows? Who knows, people? I mean, there's, rumour has it, and it's only a rumour, that there's a possibility that hairdressers might be looking to open, I think, the beginning of July. Can't wait for that. Although, I think my hairdresser is going to kill me. because when she sees what I've done to my hair, I don't know if I've done a video since I messed with my hair, but basically I got so fed up of the grey that I decided that I was going to take matters into my own hands and bought a box colour. So all that time that it took for my hairdresser, oh, what's going on now? All that time that it took for my hairdressers to sort of get my hair the colour that I wanted it, with some highlights in it that would disguise the greys as they were growing through, so that it wasn't such a desperate situation to get my roots done. And it took us quite a number of months to get the colours the way I wanted them, just because you have to allow for sort of the lift and the lifting of the colour. So we got the red out and turned it brown, and then started to put some sort of caramel colours in. But then the problem is obviously we put the caramels through, and then it was very hot and sunny, and then sitting in the sun with light bits of hair doesn't really do anything for the highlight. So before I knew it, all of a sudden, what was caramel started to go too light, and it just looked like a hot mess. So it was like, no, I can't leave it like that. Not and have the greys and massive roots. So I was like, there has to be a way around this. So it was like, okay, just stick an all over colour on, which is what I've done. And it will just colour over everything. But yeah, so now I'm not sure how easy it is to get my hair colour back to what I wanted in the first place. I think it might be another one of those, well, it's going to take as long as it takes to sort of lift it back out again. So, oh, the joys, people, the joys. Don't know why, but that seems to be quite far away. Why is that so far away? Please don't tell me that I've put the whole thing in the wrong place, she says. No, I think I've just not done that bit. Hold on. It's the only trouble when you change over a page. Ah, that's right. It's because I haven't done all that bit. Okay. Do you know what? I just had that moment. Do you know that moment when you're like, oh no. Oh no, I've so done this wrong. I was like, oh dear. Right, okay. So let's see if we can work out how we do this. So that's... okay. I think this is right. 1. So yeah, there we go. So that's my excitement of the hair, and the possibility of the hairdressers being able to sort my hair out, which at the moment is like, it really does need some attention. But then everything needs some attention. I'm feeling like I'm really unkept. Does that make sense? It's like my nails I'm having to do myself, of which you can see they're in desperate need of a bit more. I need to do them again. So my nails are in desperate need. My waxing is in desperate need. My eyebrows are in desperate need. My pedicure definitely is in desperate need, especially with all the flip-flop action that's been going on. So we've just constantly been walking around in flip-flops. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. So yeah, so I can't wait. I mean, I honestly didn't think that I was overly bothered whether, you know, about the whole beauty stuff and, you know, all that pamper stuff. But it's not until you don't go and get any of it done that I was like, you know what? I didn't realise how much of all that stuff I would miss. Because it was just like, wow. It's like I feel like I'm totally unkept. And yes, there are some things that you can do for yourself, I know that, but I've always quite liked the therapy of it, of the actually going to somewhere and just sort of switching off and just enjoying the pampering. I know it's not for everyone, but for me, I actually quite liked it. But hey, it's not a first world problem, is it? She says. But the bit that makes me laugh is I sit and watch some of the programs on the TV, like the talk shows, where they're sort of talking about stuff to do with the lockdown. And it does make me wonder, because they all sit there saying about this, that and the other, about the lockdown and, how all the sort of the things that are being made more difficult because of it. Yet they're sitting there with pristine hair. Especially the girls or the ladies that have got really short hair, because it's like, well, their hair doesn't look like it's changed. I'm like, well, if you haven't got a hairdresser, how have you managed to keep your hair like that? Which then makes me think, well, you've obviously used someone, unless they're exceptionally good at cutting their own hair, which I can't imagine that they do. But yeah, it's like if I had hair that, would behave itself that much for that long and not really grow, I'd be laughing, because I wouldn't have a grow in sight. And it would look exactly as it should do. Even my poor mum is struggling with her hair. She was doing fine with it, and actually I quite like it. I've sort of said to her, maybe you should try and keep it a little bit longer in places, like on the top, because it's nice and flowing and fluffy. But she doesn't like the bit that goes over her ears. She doesn't like it when it goes over her ears. So, which I sort of get, because it gets a bit uncomfortable when you've got sort of bits hanging over your ears when you've actually got short hair. So yeah, so Mummy's looking forward to being able to get to the hairdresser. Okay, Teresa, what are you doing? Think about it. It does worry me when I sit and talk to you whilst I'm doing this, because I always have this feeling that I'm about to make a boo-boo. Okay, 4. 1. And you'll see that when I'm stitching I cheat, because I normally go bottom right to top left, but if I go in the wrong direction I'll do it the opposite way round for that one leg. I don't know if that's cheating or whether that's the right or wrong way to do it, but that's the way I do it. Okay, so that's that. No, that sort of looks like how it should do, I think. What do we think? Do you know what? I absolutely thoroughly enjoy working on this piece, because it's just so easy with the one colour thread, and then every now and then I just put a different colour in, so just whiz you back out so you can see. So like where there's a item or a little bit, I will do like some of the petite treasure braids, but then the rest of it is just all sort of one colour. I love that bit. I love that bit about it. Which I didn't think I would, because I'd be like, it's got to be a bit boring. But I find it quite refreshing after doing all the full coverage and having all the changes of colours all the time. So it's quite nice. Where are we with that thread? Let's finish that thread. Hopefully we can finish this thread the right way rather than the wrong way. So yeah, so the weekend is going to be a weekend of housework and gardening on Saturday, and it is Father's Day here in the UK on Sunday. I think we're out Saturday night. I think we're going round to a friend's house for a barbecue in the garden. Now that our social distancing is, we're allowed to, as long as we sort of stay far enough apart from each other. So that'll be quite nice to get off out and see friends. And then Sunday I think we'll probably go round and see my husband's dad for Father's Day. Okay, come on, chappy. I'm not sure that I've done this the way that it should have been done, but that's how I'm storing my hank of thread. It's a little messy, but it does the job. Must admit, I was a little bit confused when the hank, because I ordered a hank of this colour, which I'm trying to remember for the life of me what it is. But if I can remember, I'll put it down below so that anyone that's interested. It's a Silks for You hank of silk, but when it first turned up, it comes in like a big circle, but it's massive, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. What am I supposed to do with that? So it's like, where do you cut it and how do you divide it? So yeah, I put it over 2 rings and just did it the way I've done it. It's probably not correct, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people out there that are going to be like in shock horror, like, oh dear God, Teresa, what have you done? Because yeah, that's, let me zoom you out so you can see see this how bad this is. Look, so that's what I did with it, because I had nothing, I couldn't work out what else to do with it. There was so much of it, and there's another one of these on a big hoop like this. So yeah, that was my way of dealing with it. I'm sure there's a proper way to do it, and I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, well, you know, this is how you do, you know, this is how you deal with a hank of silk, because I am not the person to ask. Right, where am I? So we've done that one, that one. So yeah, so I think that's our weekend sorted for the Father's Day weekend. And then I've got, it's going to be the weather predicted for next week is going to be lovely. So I'm actually really tempted to see whether I can take a few days off, so I can just pretend and lay on the deck and pretend I'm on a holiday somewhere. But I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, because we've just got so much on with work at the moment. I'm not sure that it'll be something that I can get away with doing. But you know the old saying, don't ask, don't get. And at the moment they're advocating, where I work specifically, you know, take leave, make sure that you don't sort of burn yourself out, because they are finding that the stress of working from home and dealing with everything that's going on is actually burning people out. So they're actually advocating that people take leave. So I could throw that whole curveball at them and say, well, you know, you did advocate that people should take leave. That includes me, you know. In which case it'll just be deciding which day that I want to take some leave on. Because it's always the way. I don't know about you. I don't, when I know I'm staying, see, now in every other country, I'm not sure you have the same problem we do here in the UK, but it's sort of sod's law that if you book leave and you stay in the UK, for some bizarre reason, it's almost guaranteed that it'll rain every day that you're on leave. And then the minute you're back in work, the sun will come out. Don't know if it's just me or whether it, you know, it happens to everybody, but I always feel really quite cheated. The only time that I ever actually can take leave and guarantee that I'm going to get the weather is when I've gone abroad. So now that obviously the whole going abroad is not an option, at least not for the foreseeable future, and the fact that we're predicted to have some nice weather, it's like, well, I'd rather wait till Monday and see where the weatherman changes his mind first, because I don't want to waste a day and then be stuck indoors looking outside at a rainy, wet garden. But it's always the way, and it's the same on the weekends. So like all week, I mean, I can't remember when it was, we had like a heat wave week. It was absolutely glorious. And then come the weekend, it was mostly cloudy with just a little bit of sun. And I was just like, well, that's just not very nice, is it? I was like, some of us wanted to top up our 10. Okay, so we're getting, I think I'll finish this thread and then I'll call it a day, because I need to go and do some bits in the garden and water the tomatoes in the greenhouse. before I get myself ready for our quiz evening. I do actually really like this design, I must say. The more I work on it, the more I'm like, do you know what, I really like it. And it's just so easy to stitch on, especially when you sort of not really wanting to have to overly concentrate, because on the full coverages there is an element of concentration. It's fine when you've already got things that are in the square, because you can work around, you know, you can use those as reference points within your 10% square. But on most designs and the whole changing of colours, it just, everything's sort of requires some brain power, whereas this one doesn't really seem to require brain power. And I hear as well, I have looked, do you know what, all day I've been trying to get on the Long Dog website, because they're actually doing a freebie on there, I think, for 6 days. And I think we're so many, and I was only told that by my friend Mary. We had a call today, which is like, I haven't spoken to her for ages. So it was so lovely to talk to her. And one of the first things she said to me, she was like, Teresa, I know you're not very good with social media, so you probably aren't aware of this. And then obviously when she told me, the first thing I did was went straight onto the Log Dog Sampler website. But because everyone's doing the same thing, and obviously it's such a popular thing, the website's crashed. So, but we've got 6 days. 6 days to get the free download, or the free chart. So hopefully, fingers crossed, if I try every day, at some point the website's got to bounce back up. And bearing in mind, this is my first Long Dog sampler, and I absolutely love it. At first I was a bit like, I wasn't sure that it was going to be something that I would like, but the more I've done it and the more I do of it, the more I like it, because it's just so easy to stitch. And I love the silk. I know it's like not about, but it is, because this stitches so well, because it just stitches like butter with this silk. But then I think I was the same with my band sampler. I loved the Avera Schwa silk threads. So it's hardly surprising that I'm absolutely loving these Silks for You threads as well. And I just love the way that it stitches up. Where am I? There I am. Is that me? Yeah, that's me. So yeah. So making good headway. Now, this is unusual for me, because we're, a week away from July. I mean, I probably should touch wood, just in case. I'm sitting here saying this. Every other year, I've never really been this productive with my stitching. I normally disappear off the face of the earth around the summer. Between June, July and August, like, no one sees me, including Flosstube, because it's just too hot to stay indoors. And because I'm working all week and I'm normally up in the city, come the weekends and the evenings, I just want to be outside and in the garden. But because I think I'm at home and I'm working from home, I'm getting so much more done in my lunch break, which I don't normally get when I'm in the city, because I don't really normally get a lunch break when I'm in the city. Not enough that I could sort of, stroll off and go and do some stitching. So I'm finding that this year is probably the most productive I've been, other than when I've been stitching and I'm not at work. So there we go, people. That's how far we've done. I thought we'd done quite well, considering that was, I don't know, half an hour-ish worth of stitching. So this is where we're at. Let me just show you, pull this out a little bit so you can see. There we go. So yeah, it's coming along nicely. And I love it. And I love the variegation and the fact that I'm, all over the place. I haven't sort of like said, I need to have it fading in a certain direction. I know some people do. I haven't done that. But yeah, I love it. I love all the little bits and pieces on it. I love all the little animals. Got another little animal up there. So, yeah. So, it's been great to hang out with you all. So, thank you ever so much for sitting and stitching with me. now that I've done this once, I'm actually quite hopeful that this could be something that I could do going forward. So I mean, I'll upload this video and edit it first and see what it comes out like. And if I haven't rambled about a load of old turt and it's not really that bad, then I will place it up for you all to come hang out with me, and hopefully it'll be another way for me to sort of get a few more videos up so that I can sort of do stitching and just stick the camera on whilst I'm stitching anyway. Because the lady was right when she said, you know, if you're sitting there stitching anyway, what difference does it make if you just set the camera up and just stitch? I mean, I don't even have to talk really. I always feel a bit awkward just sitting here stitching with the camera on without talking, but that is an option too. So yeah, so there we go. So thanks ever so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you again all very, very soon. So bye bye for now.